Three, three, two, one. Hey guys, Ty Cohen here, back with another interview. Listen, if you haven't registered for KCF Live yet, do so by going to kcflive.com. Today's guest is going to blow you away. Not only with what he's doing, this is a guy who I've been waiting to hear from, but also despite the fact that, like, I got started with entrepreneurship when I was really young. I was in my teens, and when I heard from this guy initially, I'm like, yes, because that's what I like. I love people that start out early, they start out young, because I can already predict where you're gonna be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now. It's crazy. It's exciting. So before we get started, as you guys know, we love to give away stuff here, right? So we've got some Apple AirPods, we've got an exclusive Nike version of the Apple Watch here. We've got a couple of these MacBook Air computers that we'll be giving away. Now, how do you win? You win simply by commenting on this video and subscribing to the channel if you're watching this on YouTube. All right, so enough of that. Let's jump right into this. So today we've got Peter A. Peter, we're not gonna share your last name, man. We're gonna leave you a mystery here because I think you're too good to be shared right now. So tell me, are you into comics? Are you into like movies? Are you into? And I know that's a very weird way of starting off, but I'm going somewhere with this. Like, what are some of your hobbies?
I like to read a lot. That's my number one hobby. I like to exercise, go on walks. Pretty low key stuff.
Okay, so you know what? So by your hobbies, I can tell if you're a thinker or not. You're a thinker. I can guarantee it. You're in your head a lot, right? All right. So
Yep.
you and I, we're pretty much the same. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the videos. I'm usually on the trail. I'm walking. I like to read like crazy. So with that said, what got you, man? Give us a little bit of your background. Who is Peter A? Like, how old are you? What got you involved with Kindle publishing? What else did you do before this?
So I'm 19, turning 20 next month. When I wrote my first book, I didn't even know about Kindle publishing. I found that out along the way. And back in high school, I did a lot of competitive public speaking. I had a really good competitive record. And before I graduated, I wanted to write something to leave behind to the people who are joining, the debate team and all the other teams, so that they could, use the skills I developed over my 4-year competitive record. And I just kept adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. And then it was like a 300-page book on public speaking at the end. And I thought, well, I should, get this out to the world, not just my friends from, competitive debate.
Very cool. So Kindle publishing was that outlet, right? So you're saying, okay, I've got all of this experience, 4 years, which as a 19-year-old is powerful for you to be able to do that, because there's adults that aren't doing that yet, right?
Right.
And not to jump ahead, but Peter is already at a point where he's generating over $20,000 a month with Kindle publishing. So you took your experience and you took your knowledge there, right? And now you got into Kindle publishing, and I'm taking it you started publishing the other genres as well, right? So what happened there?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't hear it very clearly.
Yep. So I take it that you started to publish to other genres outside of public speaking, right? So no.
Still just in public speaking. It's I got 15 books on just public speaking, and how to structure a persuasive message, body language, the whole spectrum. And they keep selling every time I put another one out. So I'm going to keep going with this niche for as long as I can.
Yeah, there you go. And the beautiful thing that I love about that, Peter, is that number one, it's an evergreen market, right? Because people always want to learn how to get better. They want to improve on themselves. One of the first things that people want to improve on is being effective speakers, right? And learning how to communicate correctly, because the words that come out of your mouth define who you are to a degree for most people.
Absolutely.
So now you've got 15 books, you're going along with it, which I think is smart. Now, what gave you the idea to say, hey, I'm going to stay in my lane here instead of jumping around? Because I think that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. They come in, they publish to one genre, they publish to that genre again, and then they start jumping around. What gave you that idea to stay still?
Well, my philosophy is, if what you're doing is working, do it until it stops working. I do plan to eventually get into other genres, but I really want to, build out this niche, my presence in this niche. Is it niche or niche? I guess I should know that as the one who wrote 15 books on communication. I want to build out my presence in this niche as far as I can. I want to get on YouTube. I want to write articles. I want to make courses. I want to do private coaching. And then once I really maximize out my presence and impact in this niche, then I'm going to move on to maybe, something like what you're doing, possibly like how to get started in this business of publishing books.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So John Maxwell, right? Do you follow him? Have you read any of his stuff?
No, I haven't heard of him.
So John Maxwell is like one of the authorities on public speaking to a degree, and that's kind of where he got his started. Brian Tracy is another one, right? Who's very
Yeah, I've heard of him.
And these guys have just done that. So they've taken that niche, right? They started publishing books in that niche and then went on to be just very prolific speakers that travel the globe, speakers that have this huge following. They went on to create these massive courses that continue to sell over and over again, and just to build a large following where not only are they speaking one-on-one to just, business owners, but they also speak to communities, corporate communities. So the path that you're taking is a smart one there. So what's next for you, Peter? What's down the road?
Well, you're gonna laugh at me for this one. For all of these books, I've made my own covers.
Okay.
Horrible idea. Absolutely horrible. I went against all of the advice I got. Now, I managed to get lucky, I guess, with some of my self-made covers. I made one that has like a 0.30% click-through rate, so 0.30. But most of my self-made covers are obviously not doing very well. So first thing I'm doing now is getting a standard cover design that's like a theme that fits all of my books so that you can clearly see it's a series. They're related and they kind of stand out as a brand. And they're professionally made covers. So that's the first thing. Then I'm going to build out a back end with a course and some, I don't even have an email list at this point. I need to get on that. So I'm going to build out an email list, a course, and then private coaching. So I know you're probably familiar with Russell Brunson, right?
Yep. Russell's a good friend of mine, man. We go back like 15 years.
Really? Wow. Yeah, Russell's awesome. He's helped me a ton. I mean, just reading his books. And, I know you're familiar with the value ladder, right?
Yeah.
I'm on just the first step, and I need to build a whole ladder. So that's what's next.
Okay. All right. So first, you're killing me, man, by not having an email list, right?
I know.
I almost died just now when you said that. So your email list, right? So that's the next thing. So for the amount of success that you're having, and by the way, folks, Peter has not only gotten the gold plaque that's soon to be, on the way to him, but he also, because he's over 20,000 a month, this guy's at a platinum plaque as well. So this guy's got a gold plaque and a platinum plaque coming to him. 19 years old, over $20,000 a month, one niche, and he doesn't have a freaking email list. Imagine if he had an email list, right? Like, dude, we have a $50,000 a month plaque, and that thing has your name on it. I see it.
There's a $50,000 a month plaque?
We have a $50,000 a month plaque. So Seth Taylor, who's in our community, he's on his way. Nate, a couple of other people are on their way. That's
crazy, Ty. Like a couple months ago, when I saw the plaques, I was like, I didn't know such a amount of success was possible on KDP. I saw the $10,000 plaque. I'm like, I'm getting that. $20,000 plaque, same thing. Now I didn't know there's a $50,000 one, but I'm coming for that one. And I'm sure we'll be.
I saw your eyes light up, man.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a plaque chaser.
So that's cool, right? One of the things you do is you continue moving the goalposts, right? The goalpost is here, you hit it, you move the goalpost to the next level, you hit it, you move the goalpost to the next level, you hit it. I think with a niche like yours, you have so much opportunity in there where it can build out and it can continue to grow. This could be a company that you're building out.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Right. So if you want to flip this thing and exit from it, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, you have that ability. I'm going to give you a couple of tips, right? So if you're looking to grow a business and scale it and exit it, you want to make sure that you have a list, right? So that list is going to be your first thing. And then you want to make sure that people are able to come into that community from multiple points. So meaning you market here on Amazon, you market on Facebook, you market on YouTube, you market offline, you can get people in and they're converting. The third thing is making sure that you have some type of subscription model in there. So there's a continuity model in there, right? These are all things that companies look for when they're looking to buy a company, and they all help you to scale and get to this massive level. So having that continuity in there. The other thing is having multiple price points, right? So you have the lower entry price points, which might be your Kindle books. Then you've got stuff that's, a little bit higher, $100. $500, $1,000. You've got coaching programs that are 5,000, 10,000, 25,000, 50,000. You know, I've got $100,000 one-on-one coaching program. So you also have to have the ability to walk away from the company. So if another company comes in and buys your company, it's not depending on Peter A. Right?
Right.
It's not depending on you being the face of that brand. So they can come in, they can put their marketing muscle behind it, they can introduce their list of products or the suite of products that you've created, and they can add fire to that thing, and they're off and running. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that advice.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I see that. So get the continuity in place and get all that other stuff in place along with your email list. All right, absolutely. So now you got your plan for building out this $100 million a year business, right? That's your plan right there. What's the first thing that you do once you get to that point, right? What does that look like for you?
Well, travel. I really want to travel everywhere, really. Europe, particularly. Start from the top of Europe and then take a straight line down through Europe. That's really it. Honestly, I just the freedom is what motivates me. I think that's what motivates a lot of people who do this.
Absolutely. So Peter, you've got your plan in place for how you're going to grow your business, right? The other thing that goes in alignment with that is having a plan in place for once you get to that level. You're at 20,000 a month. So what exactly are you, if you don't mind sharing those numbers? Where are you at right now?
Sorry, could you say again?
You're at 20,000 a month, right? The last video that you shared with me where you went into your Amazon account was like 20,000 a month. Where are you at revenue-wise, if you don't mind sharing that with me?
Revenue-wise, it's about 32,000 a month.
So you're at 32,000 a month. Dude, the 50,000 a month pack is yours.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Close, right? So what are you doing right now as someone that's hitting 32,000 a month in revenue with Kindle publishing? What does that look like for you? What does your life look like right now?
If you want the honest truth, it looks like exactly what it looked like before. I have the same hobbies. I'm the same person. I just have a little bit of peace of mind knowing that that I have the capacity to be self-sufficient, and that if something happens or if I need to take care of someone, like I can do that. So I mostly it looks the same, except the goalpost is a little bit further ahead than it was before.
Okay. And I kind of knew the answer to that, because I think that when people are setting out these goals, they have these dreams of, they're going to get the car or the house, or they're going to whatever it may be. But the most rewarding thing is knowing that you can do whatever it is that you need to do if that happens to be the case, right? If you get to a point where, you need to take care of someone that you dearly care about, right? You have that ability. If there's an emergency, you have that ability. That's one of the most rewarding things there. So
absolutely.
What is that? Let's flip things a little bit. What does your process look like? So let's start from the very beginning, right? So someone's watching this interview. They've never published a book before. Maybe they are publishing right now, and they're still a little bit lost because a lot of people get overwhelmed by the moving parts. What's your system? What do you do first?
So I've been learning throughout the process. So I'll tell you what I think the best thing to do now is, not necessarily what I did at the beginning. It wasn't the best. So, like no email list, for example. So I'll tell you what I would do now and what I'm doing now. So first thing is, and this is for nonfiction, which is my niche. First thing is to take your subject and then try to generalize it a bit, so that you get a wider audience. It's not too niche and there's no cap on the amount of market that you can capture. So like I go from public speaking to leadership. I connect my area of knowledge to one that's very much in demand, and those books do pretty well. So the first thing is to try to generalize a bit, not too much, but get the sweet spot.
So you cast on net.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't cover the whole ocean, but it has to be as big as you can make it without diluting what your message really is. That's the first thing. The second thing is to try to meet or exceed the quality of professionally published books, like books published by HarperCollins, all these big business publishing houses. I would say look at their interior formatting and make your book nicer, make the formatting nicer, make the cover better. And you want your book to be indistinguishable from the best of the best. Now that's what I'm working on now. I'm trying to bring my books up to speed. Then you want to hopefully write at least 3 books on the same subject, breaking it down a little bit further. Each book should be focused on a different section of the subject.
Gotcha.
And
So
you connect them.
You're niching it down even more. So you're casting this wide net, right? You're making your books, you're being super competitive with the best of the best that's out there, going after them and saying, I'm going to beat the heck out of them.
Right.
And then you're going in and you're niching those, you're taking that major topic and you're niching it down into other subtopics.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And so that would, then after that, I would make about 10 different, in your book, 10 different free email opt-ins, not just one, I would say 10. So at any point in the book, you say, here's a checklist, for example, that goes over and helps you master the process that I just talked about over the last 20 pages. Here's where you can get it for free. And so you do that throughout the book, not just at the beginning or at the end. That probably will raise your email opt-ins a lot.
Dude.
And also, it's just free value.
That is crazy right there. Like the fact that you just said 10 offers in there, nobody's doing that. Like no one is doing that. Like just and the way, if you're watching this video, he just said it in such a real cavalier way. Hey, listen, just go in, put 10 offers and spread them out throughout your book. Listen to how impactful that could be. And here's the reason why. Someone sees offer number 1, it's a checklist. They may gloss over that, it may not be to their liking, but they see offer number 2, right? This is a video that shows you how to do X, Y, Z. That one might capture their attention. Offer number 3 might be, hey, here's an audio that shows you how to go in and get more clients. That might capture their attention. And now you've got all of these different hooks out in the ocean, right, with different types of bait. You've got your fish that are coming through, and one type of bait may not appeal to them, but the second one will, or the third one will. And now you've got them, right? So that's brilliant. I wanted to really touch on that, Peter, because that right there should be one of those things that everyone goes in and implements immediately.
Yeah, and I actually don't have that right now. That's what I'm working on, is putting that in now. Because when I was starting out, like a couple months ago, maybe a couple years ago, I mean, the real success, I would say, started like maybe 8 months ago. Before that, I wasn't planning for success. So I was like, why would I even put an email offer in there if I don't even know if my book's going to sell? I obviously, that was a bad mentality, and now I'm picking up the pieces of that mentality and trying to fix the effects of that bad mentality. I think you should always plan for success. But yeah, so you get those 10 offers, and then I mentioned you should write more books on one subject. Ideally, you should have the covers have a sort of theme, a similar format, similar fonts, and so they clearly visually communicate the idea that it's, this is all one series. And then you put those covers in the front of the book. And so you say, here's the series. So you have this book, they're opening the pages, you got the copyright statement, you have maybe about the author, a title page on the inside of the book, and then you get hit with, here's my other 3 books, which are exactly, it's like, you just bought a book on this subject. If you're interested in more, here are 3 of them, or however many you have. And then something else I'm doing is, I'm sure you're familiar, and I'm pretty sure you do this too in your marketing. You have a free paperback book offer, right? And then there's a upsell in there for a course or something, in case anyone wants to level up the business relationship. I would recommend that you actually write a 4th book. If you wrote 3, write a fourth book, and then you offer it as a free book in your book. So people are reading your book, and then they stumble upon a free paperback book, and they go to a link. It's a ClickFunnels page, and then there's a upsell, one-click upsell to a course. And that's how you can take people from your book immediately to a higher step in the value ladder. And so that's another thing I'm working on now.
Very cool. So is that something that you have in place right now, or you're working on building that out? Because that's
working.
Gotcha.
Say again?
I said that's impactful, especially if you're in the nonfiction space, right? So if you're someone that's a coach or trainer, a speaker, and you're working in the nonfiction space, you can always ascend that ladder and get your people to move up and get them to just consume more and more. Now, even if you're in the fiction space, so a lot of the things that we do in the fiction space are very similar, right? So we'll list out our other books. So we've got book 1, and then we're making them aware of book 2, book 3, book 4. We also make them aware of book sets. So we'll book our sets together, and they can go in and purchase that. We'll have exclusive books. So we might have book 1 through 7. And book 6, you can't get on Amazon. You can only get it through us if you go in and opt in. So the
Right.
human nature is like we are collectors by habit, right? So we want to have everything in the collection. So that's
Mhm.
a good way of getting people on your list as well as being able to get them used to but ability to go on your site and purchase, right? Because a lot of people are used to buying off of Amazon, but if you
Mhm.
want to condition and train them to go on your site and buy, just make book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 available on Amazon and book 6 available only through you, and then book 7 and 8 available on Amazon. Everyone
Right.
should buy book 6 through you.
Absolutely. If they've read the first 5 books, they're committed. So, I'm sure Robert Cialdini
Yeah.
and Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. It's consistency principle, right? They've read 5 books. They have this momentum, it's an open loop. Like what happens in book 6? Yeah, that's a very similar strategy. And I think the bigger your back end, the more you can afford to bid in the Amazon ad auction. And so it's like if you can build out a back end where you have a course, multiple books, coaching offers, or whatever you have, if you can build a bigger business around your books, then you can sell your books more because you can bid more in the auction. And so you can compete with, you can get the high end of the bid range and you can afford it.
Yeah. Man, I have a saying, and that is, he who has the most money to spend wins. So
Yep.
who has the most money to spend as it relates to their funnel, right? So exactly what you're talking about, your back end. So you don't have just that initial offer, which is your Kindle book, but you have upsells, you've got subscriptions, you've got like that continuity, you've got coaching, you have other things that are in there, and you know the numbers. That's the other thing, right? So knowing the numbers. So for every person that comes in through your funnel, what are they ultimately worth? So that allows you to know how much you can spend to acquire a customer. And the person that can spend the most to acquire a customer, because they've taken the time out to build out that back end and they know the numbers, will beat the heck out of everyone else, hands down, because no one takes the time to know the numbers. No one does. So
Yeah, you got to know that because then you can set your first bid. I mean, you can even choose to at that point you can even choose to be profitable on the first offer. It's up to you at that point. I'm sure there's an optimum position where you can maximize some of the profit on the first offer, like the Amazon book,
yeah.
or you can completely wipe out that profit if it just happens to be the case that more profit will come out of getting more people in the funnel at the front. And I guess, there is no standards. What I've noticed, it's everyone has to figure out for themselves what their numbers are. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Peter, man, you're a marketing guy, right? So I could tell that you love marketing, you study marketing.
Love it.
And marketing is one of those things, just like, it's like a drug. Once you get introduced to it, like you have to go down the rabbit hole. You talked about
Yep.
Cialdini, right? The Power of Influence. And if you guys have not read that book, go in and get it. If you can get the audio, there's a CD. Like now, I'm about to date myself. When I first got Robert Cialdini, I got the CD. Now I got the CD and the book at the same time, but I got the CD only because there was a little business card. There was a card about the size of this that came in the CD.
Mm-hmm.
And on it, it had the 7 or 8 principles of influence. So that is the first one, right? Was like creating likability.
Mm-hmm.
So having something in common with your audience. If your audience likes comics, right? We started off with, hey, do you like comics? Man, talking about, hey, I love comics. That Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters. Superman, I love how the guy has the cape. He's got the pajamas on. I don't know if I would wear that. But just having that connection with him. And then the second thing was kind of mimicking, not looking like a madman, but mimicking their movements, mimicking their sayings in a way that they do things. And then the third thing was like having this level of affluence, right? This authority shit, so that people pay attention to you. So all of that was on the card when you bought the CD, right? So all of the stuff that Cialdini, if you guys haven't heard of him, it's Robert Cialdini. Go in and check out some of his books. He's got a ton of books. He's a professional.
There's a second edition, actually, a second edition of Influence that just came out. I see it on the charts on Amazon.
There you go. So who are some of your other favorite marketers? You mentioned Russell Brunson with ClickFunnels. Who else do you study?
Well, let me look at my bookshelf and I'll let you know. Let's see. There's a man named Alan Dibb. I think that's his name. The One-Page Marketing Plan. Have you heard of that one?
Yep.
Yep. I studied him. Let's see. Here I got Robert Robert W. Bly. Heard of him?
W. Bly. Yep. Robert Bly. He's old school, man.
Yeah, very old school.
Bob Bly. Yeah. So if you like his stuff, study like Gary Halbert. Study like John Calton.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can study like Gary Benjamin. All of those guys are copywriters, and they'll like the copy in your books, the copy that you use to market your books will sell more than almost anything other than like the colors of your covers and, you know, your titles and everything else. But all those guys come from that same school as Robert Cialdini.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's a bunch. I could list them. Perry Marshall, you got Perry Marshall up there. You know, Perry Marshall, great guy. I mean, yeah, there's and some of the books I have read that have helped me in marketing have not even been on marketing. They've been on psychology. And of course, you know, the subjects are like, they overlap perfectly. Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely. I don't know how to pronounce his name. So yeah, there's a whole.
He talks about the $1,000 burger or something like that was sold out in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia or something.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's no wonder that you're doing so well, right? Because you've learned to kind of master the two things that will always keep money in your pocket, and that is marketing and understand psychology, why people do what they do. Why do people buy? What makes them buy, right? And it's usually emotions. Buying is usually emotionally based, right? We want that end result. So if you're watching this thing and you're thinking that Kindle publishing is just about having an idea and throwing it up there, like that's one part of the puzzle. But if you want to really get to a level where you're doing 32,000 like Peter, you need to learn to master marketing. You need to learn to study persuasion. You need to be persistent in staying in your lane, right? Going wide and then bringing it back and going deep as we've done. So Peter, what else would you add on to that? In your experience right now, as someone that's doing 32K a month, what else would you add on to that need for someone who wants to be successful in the publishing?
Well, generally, I would say put as much variety in your traffic methods as you can. You want Amazon ads, articles, YouTube. You want the whole spell, like you said at the beginning. You want to get as many people from everywhere, and it might not be as easy to do for a fiction book to get like a YouTube channel, but you want to cast as wide a net, not only in the subject you write about, but also in where you find the people who are interested in that subject. My second piece of advice would be to start with just one, master one. I started with Amazon ads, and then I'm moving on from Amazon ads. So go really deep. I guess an even broader piece of advice is be focused. Don't try to go too wide. Go really, really deep. Like I'm going really deep on one niche. I'm going really deep on one marketing platform. I'm going really deep on the subjects I needed to learn to get, to write the descriptions for my books. So those are, I guess, three pieces of advice that I would offer anyone. And I think they're pretty applicable no matter what your niche is.
Yeah. And, I think, one of the things that's important is to just totally submerge yourself in it, right? Totally submerge yourself in it and not get distracted. Allow yourself to just be totally focused. You guys hear me talk about that all the time, right? Just being focused and just, when I'm mentioning that, I'm talking to myself because even the best of the best, we get distracted, right? You start doubting yourself. You start, imposter syndrome will creep up every once in a while.
Absolutely.
You're doing 30-something thousand. And I can guarantee that at some point, if you haven't experienced it already, imposter syndrome comes up. Like, who am I to speak about this, right? Who am I to do this? So how do you deal with that?
Well, I guess like it's a balance, because on one hand, you do need to have like a level of experience and tangible knowledge in the thing you're writing about. But on the other hand, I think even the biggest experts on any subject feel that. I think just drawing your conscious awareness to the experience of feeling imposter syndrome will make it disappear over time. You just look at it and say, this is like an irrational response that is embedded in me. It's not who I am. I don't believe these things. Disidentify with the feeling of imposter syndrome. Realize it's like a mental algorithm running in the background that you don't control, but you can separate yourself from and realize it's not who you are. It's not your feelings. You don't take ownership and identify with those feelings. That's what's helped me. And then I guess just reminding yourself of the credentials you have in the field that you write about. And that helps as well.
Yeah. Do you study a lot of personal development, self-improvement, or?
Yeah. what really changed, what really sent me on this course, I guess, would be in ninth grade, as freshman year of high school. I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And that just the entire trajectory changed. And I see in your face, I know you've heard so many people say that. That's why you're smiling right now. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. And I give that book to all my friends, all the people who I have any meaningful relationship with, and they say the same thing. Yeah, I bet it's somewhere on that shelf, isn't it?
Yeah, it's somewhere around here. I got it right here. I got a million books in my office here, but it's around here somewhere. That's one of the first books that I did. My son Tyler, who he got started with Kindle publishing when he was 15. First book I did.
Yep, absolutely. And when I start a family, first book I'm giving my son or my daughter is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon. I've read it 4 times. I'm gonna keep reading it like once every couple of years, and it just kind of refocuses you.
Absolutely. I got another one for you, man. It's this one, Atomic Habits. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah. I just read that like a month ago.
Okay, that's a game changer right there.
Absolutely.
So especially like if you're someone like you who you have this level of consciousness, this level of awareness, right? So he talks about in Atomic Habits how we don't want something until we notice it. So we can walk in the kitchen here, and I'm not even thinking about apple pie. And if my wife has an apple pie on the counter, then all of a sudden I have this craving for apple pie, right? So setting up your environment so that you are more likely to do the things that you want to do and less likely to do the things that you don't want to do. So that's a great book, right? So what's your big takeaway from Atomic Habits so far? You're in the middle of reading it right now?
No, I've read it a couple weeks ago. My biggest takeaway is, I would say, identity and how habits shape identity and identity shapes habits, how there's like a two-way street there. And how and this is, again, the reason it impacted me when I read it in Atomic Habits is because, I read about that in my books. If you want to give a speech persuading an audience to act a certain way, you try to change their identity, try to channel their existing identity in the direction of the actions you want them to take. Absolutely true. If it works for an audience, it also works for yourself. So yeah, that's something I really enjoyed reading about in Atomic Habits.
So let's stay on that for a second, right? So identity, because I think that's big. So wanting to be a successful publisher, wanting to do well with Kindle publishing or whatever it is in life, you have to adopt that identity, right? I was just having a call with my team yesterday, some of the sales team guys, and we were talking about some of the posts that we see sometimes in the Kindle Cash Flow Facebook groups, where people will say, I just hit $800 a month, but I'm not where I want to be. And they're like totally negate the fact that they're doing $800 a month, right? They'll override that with the negativeness, or they'll say something like, I'm at $3,000 a month and I still suck because my goal was to be at $10,000 a month. And I'm like, no, like embrace the $3,000 a month. Like really, I adapt that identity where you're like, I'm at $3,000 a month, I'm crushing it, and my goal is to get to $30,000 a month, right? So how did you get to that point where you didn't? Because I'm sure you had periods where you weren't as successful as you wanted to be. Probably now, right? How do you deal with that?
So that's a great question, and like that's something I've been deliberately working through. It's I read a lot of the Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, and it's like all about accepting the present as it is. But that's one part of me. The other part of me wants to keep advancing, and then I guess I found the resolution in a book called Designing the Mind. And the sentence that really struck me was the key to happiness, and also attaching happiness to the ability to strive for goals that you care about, is to want the present to be exactly as it is, even though you want the future to change. So you can work from accepting what the present is and appreciating it while still wanting the future to be different.
Yeah. So being able to recognize the difference in those two. Right. So it's like looking at your bank account and saying that, you're negative, or that you're not where you want it to be, but you want it to have these extra zeros. So accepting that and being realistic with it, but saying, I know that this is not forever because I'm working towards this. Right. So very, very cool. So do you write your own content, or do you use ghostwriters?
I write all my content. I have thought about ghostwriters. And the reason I've thought about ghostwriters is because if I could expand my niche a little bit, right? So like I write about public speaking, crafting a persuasive message. I personally have not done a lot of interviews, like, for jobs. I've never been to a great many job interviews in my life.
They're overrated, man. Screw the job interviews.
Right. Yeah. I'd much rather be doing this kind of interview. Right. Yeah, absolutely. But, I think it would be a really effective subject to plug into my current business and niche, but I'm not the one who can be an expert on that. That's something I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking of finding someone who is an expert on interviews, maybe who's a coach for interviews, job interviews, and having them ghostwrite for me or write a book under their name that I plug into my business and processes. I've been toying around with that. Yeah.
Yeah, smart. And that's how you grow that brand, right? So that's how you're growing it even more. So now you're getting experts to come in and publish like under your publishing company. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's it, man. That's super smart. And you're kind of detached. And I'm not trying to force you on detaching yourself from the business, but that's how
of course.
Even more so, so having that brand. So you're writing your own content, which I know a lot of people that are watching this are going to be relieved to hear, because we have our community is like divided. There's people that are just into ghostwriting, like they'll go in and hire ghostwriters, half of them, and then half of them are into writing their own content. So typically when I do these interviews, it's folks that hire ghostwriters. So now you guys finally have someone that's writing his own content here to celebrate. All right, so very cool. So what's the next step for you? We're gonna close this bad boy out. I know I could speak to you all day, man, but what's next?
Well, I've been on like a little vacation for the past week or two, and next is just getting back into the routine. I do about 4 hours of very focused work a day. I think 4 hours of focused work beats like an entire day of unfocused work. Next thing is I need to hear back from my cover designer and see what he made. And then I got to push out about 16 new covers, reset the ads, all the stuff I talked about. And then really I wanted to get into coaching. And like you said, giving speeches to corporations, corporate communities on the subjects in the book. I think that's a good way to get a lot of value out. And it's like, it makes sense in the sense that you have 200, 300 people and one speech covers, it's the same for all of them. You give a lot of value to each individual, and it's like same as YouTube. You give one speech, and then you can turn it into an article, you can turn it into a YouTube video, and it serves people for a very long time. Yeah, so I guess that would be what's next.
Yeah, you can repurpose it into a podcast, right? You've got the audio you can extract, the video, you've got the article you can pull from that. So that one piece of content now becomes 4 different pieces. You got snippets that you can use on social media. So very cool. So I'm going to take about 5 more minutes of your time, if you don't mind, because you just said something that I think the audience will want to hear. 4 hours of focused work beats 7 or 8 hours of just being there, right? What does your day look like? Elaborate on that a little bit. Your 4 hours of focused work. So what is that at night? Is that during the middle of the day? Are you more productive in the morning? What is your daily routine look like?
It's typically, everyone has their own energy peaks and valleys. My energy peak is like about noon to 4. So I'll do 4 hours from noon to 4. Now, like a couple months ago, I really kind of overdid it. I did like 16 hours of focused work. I wrote one book in one day. Let me find it here. I wrote this book in one day. And it does about maybe $3,000 a month. But overall, I think a more sustainable routine is 4 hours. And then the rest of the day, relax, read books, whatever you want to do. Of course, that's just what I like to do. And just get recharged for your next sprint of 4 hours.
I'm going to tell you, man, something that's very powerful, because for me, it kind of changes. And I'm interested in hearing if it changes for you. So sometimes my peak periods will be in the morning. So it'll be like from 6 to maybe 12. Right, so like 6 to like 12 in the afternoon, and then there's other times where it's like 8 o'clock at night to like 2 in the morning, right? And it's seasonal, so I'll find like right now I'm at the point where it's like 6 to 12. But as we get closer to like winter, then it shifts, and I'm like a night owl. I go from like 8 o'clock to like 2 in the morning, and my wife's like, "Will you make up your mind? Are you gonna be an early bird or are you gonna be a night owl?" So does it ever shift for you?
Not that I've noticed. It's been pretty steady, which is good. You know, it's good to build a habit and consistently have the same time in the same day. But you know, occasionally, like it'll be really late, and I can't sleep. I'm like, let me go write a couple paragraphs, and then it'll be another session at night. You know, it's pretty flexible. That's what I enjoy. And I'm sure you enjoy the same thing. It's you kind of set your own schedule, and that's fun.
That's it. What's your writing process like? Like, do you ever experience writer's block or and
Writer's block. I don't think I experience writer's block. I listen to music while I write, very loud music, 2000s rap. And it shuts down my conscious mind in a way, and I'm just flowing from the subconscious, the stream of consciousness. And then my fingers are moving, and then I look at and read what I wrote, and I know I couldn't have consciously put those pieces together and written something that's that effective if I were trying to forcefully do it from the conscious mind. And that's a principle I teach in my books too. You know, when you're in front of an audience, don't try to force your conscious mind to keep up with the demands of the moment, because it can't. You can't do a millisecond by millisecond response. You need to shut your conscious mind in a way that lets your subconscious self, your subconscious mind shine forth. And that would be my writing process. I think I can do like many more words per minute and much better words if I manage to get that flow.
so you took the words right out of my mouth. You're in this state of flow, right? You're in the state of it's just going, and time is not even the thing that's even
Exactly. Total presence, total focus. Yeah. It's honestly one of the most addictive feelings like I've ever experienced, and it's productive. So it's like one of those things that's, you know, it's both addictive and productive. That's what else could you want, right?
Yeah, you're in a totally different state, man. I find like when I'm writing like copy, whether it's sales copy for an email or for a webinar or for a website or a book description, like what I do is I'll get like a legal pad, like a yellow pad, and I literally lay on the floor and write. And then I'll take that and I'll, go in and type it up. But it's like exactly what you spoke of. You're in this state, you're in this flow where there's nothing else going on around you. You're not conscious of time, and it just feels good.
Yeah, it's incredible. And like, it was the same thing when I would be doing competitive public speaking. It would be exact same thing as when it is when it's writing. It's complete flow, timelessness. And like people would tell me, like after the round or the speech was over, they'd be like, Peter, like when I'm listening to you talk, it feels like time is slowing down. It feels like I'm out of time too. And like when you're in that state of flow, I feel like you move people into that with you. Right. And it's, I couldn't understand why they would, like, this is like maybe 10, 20 people telling me that when I talk to them in a public debate or something, they say that time slows down. It's like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I feel like no time, total presence, no thoughts. You know, it's like it's thinking without thinking. I can't explain it. It's beyond me. But
I think one of the keys though is you find a trigger, right? So your trigger is 2000 rap.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a trigger. So for me, another thing for me, the trigger is laying on the floor. I know I have this legal pad, right? I've got the pen. That tells my body, tells your subconscious, now it's time to get to work. Right. So now everything else happens. The trigger for you is you go in, turn on your music, it's loud. Now, as you do that more and more times, you do that dozens of times. Now that becomes your trigger, your habit right there. And
absolutely.
Your subconscious has nothing else to do but to just get in that state of flow and to move along with you. But it's figuring out that trigger. I'm curious, what was your trigger? If you think about it now, like when you were doing public speaking, or what was the trigger there? Was it like being in front of a podium? Was it just knowing that you had to go, or?
It's hard to say. I would suppose it would just be the setup, getting into the seat, seeing all the other competitors, and just clearing my mind. Like the biggest, the most productive task the conscious mind can do in many situations is to get out of the way, really. And I can't think of what the trigger was, honestly. I would also listen to like 2000 rap when I was doing my research for the debate. But then in the moment, really just being there. That's it.
Got it. Okay. So for someone who's watching this, they're a writer, what would be the number one tip that you would give that person who may be a writer and they're having a hard time? They have not published their first book yet. There's a lot of people who have thought about writing a book for a year, haven't done it. For 6 months, they haven't done it. For 5 years, I spoke to a guy the other day who's had this book idea for 5 years and he hasn't done it. What would you say to that person who has this idea? They know it will kill it, but they just haven't gotten out of their own way yet.
Right. Well, I would say there's a lot of things to say. If I could pick just one thing to say, it would be realize it's possible. Realize you have the capability. I'm not particularly smart. If I could do it, like anyone could do it. It's possible. It's real. It's never been more possible than now. And there's no better time to start than now. And you can do it. Really, it's just the inner realization that you can do it is when you get that shift. Then that's when it becomes true.
There's no time like now to be able to do it. And it's always the smart guys who say I'm not particularly smart. Notice that, guys. Hey, Peter, show us your book one more time, folks. So go over to Amazon, grab a copy of Peter's book, and
I'll show you some of my favorites because there's a few of them here.
See what you got here.
See.
Go over.
These will probably help with copywriting too. So here's number one. It's my favorite right here.
How highly effective people speak. How high performers use psychology to influence with ease. There you go. How legendary leaders speak. 451 proven communication strategies of world's top leaders. Awesome, man. You've got JFK on the cover?
Yep. Yeah, see that one. A couple of weeks ago when there was like a shutdown, a partial shutdown, a lot of books were like disappeared, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so this one disappeared. I have my 3 bestsellers. 2 of them disappeared. One of them came back. The other one, they're having some prolonged glitch that like hasn't brought it back yet. So this one you can't get in paperback right now, but it's on Kindle. And then this one.
The Eloquent Leader, 10 steps to communication that propel you forward. Very cool, very cool. Hey, so Kindle Capital community, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go in and buy all of Peter's books. Like buy every single book. Here's the thing. Like if you want to get to the next level and you want people to buy your book, this is something that I personally found, Peter, is if you want to get to the next level and you want people to buy your stuff, you have to be open to buying other people's stuff. Like I learned that when I first started, putting a course together, when I first started with coaching, because I was always the guy who was like, $1,000 for a course, there's no way I'm gonna go in and buy that. $5,000 for coaching, $10,000 for coaching, there's no way I'm gonna buy that. But what I was doing was I was sending this message of scarcity out to the universe, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And it's like seeing a guy in a nice car and hating on him.
Yeah, you can't attract what you despise.
Absolutely, you can't attract what you despise. So you're sending mixed messages there. So go out and support the community, buy Peter's books, share them, tell everyone on the planet about these books. And then most importantly, study, right? Success leaves clues. So the guy's massively successful. Go in, study what he's doing. Do not be that person that copies, right? There's no honor in copying. Go in and study what he's doing. Don't model, don't copy what he's doing, support what he's doing.
I would say if you we didn't really get a lot into copywriting, because that's too big of a subject to even do in an interview. But for nonfiction authors who are in a niche similar to mine, if you were to look at the copy of this book and the copy of this book, that would be, you'd be able to get a sense of what I've learned throughout all the years of learning copywriting. This one can, depending on the target, it converts up to 1 in 4. So that's a really good description for this one. And you can look at it, learn from it, emulate it. And yeah.
When you say 1 in 4, break that down. What are you talking about exactly for the person that's wondering right now?
So it's not the average because it depends on the target, but for the best target that this book, like the highest performing ad target, about 30% of the people who click buy it. Possibly more, because I don't see the ebook sales that come from that. So, and that's also at a statistically significant number. So clearly something's working with this description. So check it out and, get a sense of it, and you'll probably pick up a couple strategies you may not have discovered.
There you go. And you're running Amazon ads, right, Peter?
Yep.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Hey guys, this was it. Great interview. This guy's a master. You know, we're gonna have Peter come in and speak. I'm gonna interview you or something. We're gonna figure out something for Kindle Cash Flow Live. So if you don't have your tickets yet, go over to kcflive.com, grab them. By then, I think Peter will have his plaques. Maybe he'll be at $40,000 a month, closer to that $50,000 a month level. As always, go in and comment on this video for a chance to win some cool prizes like the MacBook Airs, the Apple Watches, a lot of the other gifts and prizes and cash that we give away. Last time at Kindle Cash Flow Live, Peter, we gave away close to like $20,000. So, folks, if you want to be part of that, go in and grab your tickets at kcflive.com. And to get a chance to just win, right? Comment below. What was your biggest takeaway from this video, this interview with Peter? I mean, the dude drops so many nuggets. No wonder he listens to 90s rap, because he drops so many bars, right? Like he drops bar after bar after bar. There's literally probably about 20. Give me your top 1 to 3 bars that Peter dropped in this interview, and we will see you on the next one. kcflive.com to get your tickets.